inventory reconciliation space is actually quite wide, and there's a number of inventory events that can happen to any seller's inventory, from the point of getting it shipped to the warehouses to the point of where it's getting stored and distributed to the buyers. So how it works for our software is called Profit Recovery by ThreeColts. What we actually do is we'll be onboarding customers by setting up their connection to the Amazon storefront. And then after that, you have to onboard your case manager. So each account gets a dedicated case manager who will follow through the entire process from start to finish, as well as they communicate in case Amazon has any pushback or there's an additional documentation required. And then once they're onboarded, all you have to do is just add a payment method, and we don't have any upfront fees. We'll take the payments once we have successful cases that come through. And it'll just be 25% off of those claims. How we get their data is we both use SP API data as well as Seller Central reports, and we consolidate those to have full data accuracy, because we found that sometimes there are discrepancies in one or the other, so we try to use both. And in that case, your case manager will be reviewing your account daily, and once they found a discrepancy, they'll be following up with Amazon to see what's happened, and if there's any inventory that could be found or any cash reimbursements can be issued. So some of the main categories that I can think of at the top of my head are when it comes to shipments. So inbound shipments, you ship 100 units, but Amazon sometimes receives only 95. So our job is to understand what actually happened to those shipments. We get documentation from you, and once we have that, we can follow through with Amazon. Another claim type is going to be lost and damaged in the warehouses. So once those shipments are already placed in the Amazon warehouses, sometimes they get lost or misplaced or confused with other sellers' inventory. So we also investigate what happened to those. Another type of FBA fee reimbursement is also the FBA returns. So when a buyer returns any kind of goods and those are still sellable, we can also find reimbursements for those, because sometimes they have to put it back in the inventory, but it doesn't always happen. And then the final one is going to be FBA fees. So we do FBA fee remeasurements. And with those, we'll just get Amazon data, and then we'll compare it to your true data, and then we'll see discrepancies. And as per Amazon's standards, we file 20 claims per user on a monthly basis to get those remeasurements in. Another tip that I would say that sellers benefit the most is having good documentation of your shipments. So packing slips and invoices are required documents for when it comes to inbound shipments. Without those, it's very difficult to get reimbursement from Amazon, as we don't really have a proof of ownership of those units. So definitely keep those documents and make sure that your warehouse team has clear communication between how they can send them to you, as well as we have a documentation hub where you or any one of your team members can just upload those documents for the particular shipments with discrepancies. It really depends on what kind of case we're investigating. For inventory adjustments, such as loss or damage claims, it's usually a bit of a quicker process. Sometimes we can get the reimbursement in a day or two, and sometimes it can take up to 4 to 5 days. With those claims, they're usually pretty simple to find. If it's more units, then we have to actually prove the ownership of those units with additional documentation. It can take up to 10 days. With inbound shipments, it takes a little longer, just because usually those are kind of the larger ticket items. A lot more units get lost, and a lot more documentation is required. So the Amazon team takes a little longer to review those claims. So it can take anywhere from a week to a couple of months, depending on the size again. You, as a seller, are eligible to at least 20 remeasurements per month. So 20 of your SKUs can get remeasured. And ideally, you'd pick the ones that are top selling for the last 90 days, because the way that the reimbursement for them works is you'll file the claim, and then once the claim is filed, Amazon has remeasured your product, and they identify that there actually has been a fee miscalculation for the last 90 days. They will reimburse you that amount for each order that was placed. So you kind of want to look at the items that have the highest number of orders in the last 90 days, as well as you can only do a remeasurement for each product twice every month. So you really want to get those top selling SKUs, as well as the ones with the largest measurement discrepancies. It really depends on what kind of claims. Again, for inbound shipments, the look back window is 9 months. And for inventory claims, so such as inventory adjustments or lost and damaged claims, it's going to be 18 months. And for FBA fee charges, it's going to be last 90 days. So that's how we audit. And then our system will audit every 24 hours. And our case managers also check the inventory on a regular basis as well once they file those claims. As you might already know, there are a ton of tools in space. They all have their pros and cons, but what I think makes us different is, again, our data approach. So we take both SP API data and Seller Central data. We combine the reports, and we make sure that we see everything line item by line item, check every single event that maybe it could be misplaced in the warehouse, or maybe it's just not there at all. As well as we have a team of really great experts who've been in the space for years and years and years and started as sellers themselves. So they kind of know how to triage claims on their own very well as each account has a dedicated case manager, so you always have a point of contact to reach out to if you have any kind of unique specifications about your account. So we have a number of sellers with seasonal items, so that's why the FBA fee remeasurements are so vital to them, because, for example, if they're selling winter clothes and they sell out by spring, you really want to get that look back window of 90 days, because that's when your orders are. Because once you go past that, you can't get any more of the reimbursements for those. Check out our platform, as well as you can sign up for free audits.